Past 8.
The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
Issues of the day under T-Radar.
He once was lost, but now he is found once more. T-Radar is back. Good morning.
I am. Good morning to you on this kind of wet, slightly wintry morning.
Yeah, well, slightly, I suppose this is autumn. It's now in full effect. It's the first whack we've had. It's the coldest it's been since last year. And, of course, a lot of worry in Christchurch with people's homes still broken and no heating, holes in the roof.
I saw it last night, rats coming in, and, you it's like anything, you just assume that people are getting on with things, and for those of us, not in Christchurch, it's hard to sort of imagine that it's ongoing, it's going and going. It's not like you can just ring someone up and, get your plumbing fixed, and I see the terrible news, they're facing a sewage sort of crisis down there, and they're asking people not to send too much water down the system when it's raining. Terrible
stuff, but have we got it good compared to the people of Rwanda, T-Radar? That's what I want to know.
Well, it's all relative, I suppose, isn't it? Look, I've just been over there doing a bit of work, and probably the friendliest people I think I've ever met. Poverty-stricken, they've got sort of tar-sealed roads, but it's the main road, really, and that goes through the country, and every road that branches off that pretty much, other than in the city, and certainly, and even most of them at times, are just dirt. So, you can imagine, this sort of like volcanic-y kind of clay, very mountainous place. So whenever it rains, I would imagine things would become very slippery. But no vehicles, everyone has to walk everywhere. But as I say, very, very friendly. And quite a contrast to what people would imagine if they were familiar with Rwanda, perhaps simply from, Hotel Rwanda and stories of the genocide.
Yeah, well, that's mainly my experience.
Yeah.
Through that.
So no, I think they've well and truly sort of overcome that, and they've sort of turned completely the other way, very forward-looking. They've got a very charismatic president who's got a vision sort of 2020, and he's, aiming the country towards that. It's immaculately clean, Wammo. They have a national clean-up day every month where no one's allowed to work for the morning. Everyone has to go out and clean. Every month, every last Saturday of the month, I think.
Wow.
Umagamba Day.
And what do they call it?
Umagamba Day.
Umagamba Day.
Yeah, so everyone goes out and cleans.
So the two tribes, the Hutus and the Tutsis, do they still, do they live together now?
I believe they do. We were at a coffee cooperative, and part of their thing was to bring people together for dialogue and discussion. But it sort of struck me that, at the Genocide Museum, the tribes are sort of artificial creations by the look of it. I think it was the Belgians or someone like that came in and said, well, if you've got over 10 cows, you're a Hutu.
Right.
And if you've got less than 10 cows, you're a Tutsi, which was, of course, the vast bulk of people, because what they wanted was, an educated middle class who could do their bureaucratic sort of tidings. Yeah. So, very strange kind of thing. And obviously they got all the sort of the privileges and the rank just by dint of them having 10 cows or more at that particular time, and it festered and was allowed to erupt into that sort of festering wound that was the genocide. A million people killed.
Tell us, food. How was the food?
The food was good. Yeah.
Is there a stable there?
They grow a lot of the Irish potato.
Oh.
No, I've never been in fields that grow so many potatoes. Yeah, they love the potato. The potato and corn. Mm.
Now, what do they use the corn? Do they make the kind of like a flatbread out of the?
Yes, I think. I don't really know what they did with the corn, to tell you the truth.
T-Radar, were you just eating a hotel food the whole time?
A couple of times I ate, and then various other times. It does sound terrible, I know. But when you're, where else did we eat? No, we ate. There wasn't a lot of sort of street food or anything to sort of be had where we were.
Yeah.
It was, there wasn't a lot around. But highly densely populated and busy as little beavers. God, the whole place is all terraced farms. The whole country. It's unbelievable.
So it's people mainly employed in agriculture and horticulture.
Yeah, a lot of subsistence, existence, coffee, potatoes, corn, I guess beans. We were over there as well having a look at poachers who have been turned into gamekeepers at the gorilla reserve. So instead of going out and poaching for buffalo and antelope and various things, now they're hired, to look after the gorillas in the gorilla reserve and provide cultural performances. Very sort of forward thinking.
Yeah.
Gave a family a goat. They were over the moon.
So I'd imagine sort of having that wider world view and all this travel you're doing. Some of the stuff that we've been talking about here must seem pretty insignificant.
Oh, it does, and I was on the phone, I was talking to my dad while I was over there. He says, it's a scandal over here, it's a sex scandal, and, you get back and you'd find some alleged 18-year-old running naked from the house of, one of the deputy one of the whips. That was the irony. You just think, oh God, I've done some. You're probably the same way. We've done some things in our time, but we've never let a naked 18-year-old escape from the house. I would have thought. If that had been, someone said to me the other day, if that had been me, I would have ironed his clothes and pressed them and had them all, on the foot of the bed, saying, "Oh, I just thought they were in the shower."
You see, if all this alleged stuff allegedly happened, wouldn't you just look at Darren Hughes and go, "Oh, I wouldn't have picked you. No, wouldn't have seen you as the wild party type."
The gingers, they sneak in. But a terrible fall, any kind of fall, of this nature is bad enough, but to do it in such a public way, it's got to be pretty terrible. So, lapse in judgment. I think, this 18-year-olds are 18-year-olds, and maybe if you're, not a politician, ethically, you might there go, well, it's still a bit dodgy, but I guess when you're in a position of power and you've got that sort of gravitas. But then again, what would have happened, I guess, if it had been an 18-year-old woman running away from the house of a 32-year-old man? I suspect the same thing may have applied.
Same thing probably would have applied, yeah. But then, of course, that flowed on to this whole Tiz business, and everyone in a Tiz about Tizard. Yeah, so, and I mean, it's all gone now. She's not going to be standing and whatnot, but there was a lot of people came out, including myself, actually. I didn't want to see her back in Parliament, to be fair. Useless as two tits, as they say. There was a lot of controversy about the list itself.
Right. And they've still got another 4 to go before they get to Louisa Wall. I don't know why they just didn't come out and go, look, this is the thing about it. We're going to be practical. We're not going to put someone back in who the party feels they don't want in their new blood lineup. I mean, if you want to spend $162,000 to have someone in there just to satisfy this list, then by all means go ahead. But we're going to look forward and we're going to say that this is the future of our party. It's wonderful, strong, charismatic, vibrant women like Louisa Wall, and we're going to put her in. And people would have gone, oh yeah, fair enough, good point. We don't want any of those other drop kicks in there. They didn't get back in for a reason. None of them probably would have been in after this term anyway, had they got in on the list. And it's so pathetic. I think what's the National Party got? They've got to go to the board and have them approved or something like that. Whereas Labour's, they just say yes or no. But you would have thought that the next few people on the list would have been polled during the course of the year on a monthly basis. Ring them up, see if they're still interested. Yeah. So straight away they could have gone, no, none of us are interested. We're all straight away dropping out, and it's going to be Louisa Wall. Problem solved in a day.
But what do you say? You have a phone call and go, look, just in case Darren has a wild party. Would you be up for standing if you went to
someone dies, or someone dies,
right.
or gets sick, or whatever may happen? It's not rocket science running these kind of things, and a whole lot of it's just been sort of distracting bunkum to get a mind off some other sort of more pressing issues, like the fact that we're broke as all get out and we're borrowing $300 million a week to finance a whole lot of stuff we can't afford.
Yeah.
And let alone having Christchurch falling down on top of our heads and people down there living in freezing cold houses with rats.
It is distracting, as you say, from perhaps those issues that are a whole lot bigger and more important as we head towards the election.
Absolutely, and that is rushing towards us. And, it's been I think it's been all in all a very successful week for National to sort of totally manage to watch Labour destabilise itself.
Indeed,
they must be laughing their way all the way to the bank.
Well, don't hyperventilate over it too much, T-Radar. Try and keep that sort of that overseas perspective and the relaxedness and sort of wider world view of things, because it will fade.
Yes, indeed. So if you see a stranger today and they sort of acknowledge you, give them a big smile. That's what happens in Rwanda. And I tell you what, it makes your day swim past. Oh, and holding hands? Did you do a bit of holding hands? There was a bit of hand holding and some leg stroking, actually, by a former poacher who, while we were watching the gorillas, he kept stroking my leg and asking me if I could see their sex. Just reminds me, just before we go, reminds me of I worked at a garden centre when I was at high school, and there was a chap from Rwanda who started working with us as well, and we'd go out to sweep the paths, and halfway through he'd want to hold my hand. And I was like, what do you want to hold my hand for? And he said, well, that's what we do. It's just a custom, brothers. Just a custom. So maybe if there'd only been a bit of sort of chaste hand-holding in this country in the last couple of weeks, things wouldn't have got to where they are. We'll speak again. Cheers, Radar.